Tēvu radio. In this conversation about parental leave in Sweden, best things you can do with kids, and the feeling of loneliness.
Hi, you're listening to Father Radio. My name is Gatis Midrovskis, and I'm a father of 2 daughters, and also a father group lead. I'm aware that a lot of fathers in Latvia who would love to be more involved and learn about fatherhood don't speak the language. So this is our first episode in English, and it is with my great pleasure to speak with Nicklas Löwendahl from Sweden about his experience as a Swedish dad. So, hi Nicklas, thanks for dedicating time for this talk. Your experience means a lot to us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's fun talking to other dads in other areas of the world. So thanks.
Have you had an experience like this?
I work a little bit with people in India and also in Serbia. So sometimes, and both of them have kids. So actually, my colleague in India has had his first kid recently. So there's been a little debate going back and forth about how to do certain things and how it works in Sweden and so on. So yeah, I'm a little warmed up already, I think, or I hope.
Okay.
So let's see.
Great to hear. So you already started to, and maybe you could just tell us about yourself. What do you like to do, about your family, and what do you do for a living?
I live with my wife, and we have 2 kids, Oscar and Albert. Oscar is 4 and Albert's 1.5. And for a living, I work as a civil engineer, so road designs and road construction, you could say. So that's, and in my free time, I play a little bit of golf. And as a father of 2 small kids, there's not a lot of time, a lot of free time, but I try to play around a golf when the kids has gone to sleep, or
So that's great. Do you have a lot of golf fields? Where do you live?
Yeah, we have actually. I live in the south of Sweden, so weather's pretty okay for golf. So it's April until late September, you could say. It's a good season, and we have a lot of courses around. So a lot of availability for golf players, I would say.
So what do you do in the winter time?
Good question. I used to play floorball. I don't know if is that big in...
Yeah, that's a thing in Latvia also. Yeah.
I actually played in Czech Republic in Prague tournament a lot of years ago, but so I've been to the other side a little bit. I think it's pretty big in Czechoslovakia, isn't it? Not? I think so. Yeah, I think
could be.
Yeah. Huge parenthesis. Yeah.
So that's great to hear that you're also a really active dad.
Yeah, I try to be. Yeah.
So the main reason why I wanted to talk to you is that in Latvia we can have up to 1.5 years of parental leave, and it's so great that it's possible to switch time between parents. So let's say 9 months could go to the mom and the other time to the dad, or I don't know, only 2 months could go to the dad, and we can choose. So it means that also dads can have this, well, let's say, really special time to get to know our kids and learn the ropes of taking care of them while we receive about 43% of our salary.
Yeah.
It's possible, but from what data shows, about 10 to 13% of dads use this option.
Okay.
Could you please tell us about what are the laws and the situation in Sweden?
I think the situation is, I think some of it is the same because in Sweden you also, I think most of the parents stay home with their kids until they're 1.5 years old. And as you said, you could push the time between the parents. So, yeah, you could do split it up, or you can shove time from me towards the mother if you'd like, or from the mother to the father, and so on. And that I think is pretty easy to do. But there are in Sweden you get a number of days, like you get high paying days for which you get more money, and then you get low paying days for which you don't get as much money. And how much money you get is depending on how much money you make. So you can make up to a roof, let's say, or it's topped off. So you can't get 43% of your salary if you make a lot of money, but you are able to stay at home with your kid nevertheless. So I think it's almost similar, I would say. But then you could also stretch it out, so you don't have to use 7 days every week. So let's say that you can make it work, like putting 3 high value days a week, and then you can stretch it out for a longer time period. So I think you could stay at home for pretty long, as long as you keep your costs lower or so. And I also think in Sweden, I think it's a little bit dependent on income, because, or this, I don't have all the facts behind this, but I can see probably in higher income areas where there isn't such a big income gap between fathers and mothers. I think there's a bigger possibility of them sharing the parental leave. But where there is a big difference in income, let's say for an example that the mother makes more money than the father, then because you don't get fully compensated when on parental leave, then it's more likely that the parent making the lower income will be the one who stays at home. But I think that's also on the way out, because a lot of companies today, at least in Sweden, are paying up an extra 10% for the parent who's on parental leave. So the company at which I work, they pay 10% extra for me to stay at home on parental leave, which is, I don't know if that's something that you have, but that's it.
Mm, is there and I would say, I don't know, obligatory time that you have to spend with kids? So there has to be a time for the dad also.
I think as a dad, you could push over a lot of the time to the other parent, but you can't push over all of the time to the other parent. So, which means that if you have, I don't know, let's say, 1 year of parental leave per parent, you can maybe push over 8 months to the other parent, but there are some months that you have to use yourself. If otherwise, you won't get the compensation out, or the money
So it's
stays
kind
with
of
the
burned.
government. Yeah, exactly. But I don't think that there's a law that you have to stay at home. no, there isn't.
Hmm.
So
It actually sounds like a really great system. The system that you have to use these days, not like
yeah,
months only.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, it's pretty good, I would say, and I think the best thing with it is that there are low value days and high value days. So that, if you need extra money 1 month, you can have more days that month that are high value, and if the next month you need less, then you can have use the days that are worthless. But also, you could also use the days on. Now I'm not the greatest in knowing how to pick out the days and so on. With in Sweden, it's called Försäkringskassan. It's like yeah, who controls like parental leave and such. But you can use the days, I think, until the kids are 6 years old or 8 years old, something like that. So if I have, let's say, on my oldest kid who's 4, still have 60 days left, so I can use those days until he's 8 or 6 years old. Um, so if there's a school holiday, I can take a week parental leave using those days. So that's pretty good. And in Sweden, it's what do you say? It's the my work. They have to, if I give them notice, like I think it's 3 months in advance that I'm going to be on parental leave for a week when my kid is on holiday. They can't say no. So it's
Hmm.
so that's pretty neat. Like because the kids are free from school like 2 weeks in spring, 8 weeks in summer, and maybe 2 weeks in autumn, and yeah, a little bit over Christmas. So if you want, you could use the weeks there or the days on parental leave as well.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit complicated system,
Yeah,
but
it's
still a really
super
good one.
complicated. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a good system, but yeah, as you said, a little bit complicated.
yeah.
Yeah,
So you have to still think about it. And
yeah,
you said that your second son, Albert, is 1.5 years old.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And he's starting to go to a kindergarten. Yeah,
Yeah,
preschool, as you said.
exactly. Yeah.
So now you're using also these parental leave weeks with him, so that you could um, how do you call it,
Introduce him.
adaptation? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's correct. So I've been like a home dad for from I started 1st of February, and yeah, almost now till the end of August. So a long time. So now it's time for him to go to kindergarten, and yeah, then I will be starting to leave him there for yeah, longer intervals every day for 1.5 weeks. So yeah, he's he's doing fine so far. So let's
So
hope.
how do you feel taking him to the kindergarten?
Yeah, after what is it? So after 7 months at home, I think every parent feels like now it's time to let them try their own wings, I think. And I mean, I think a lot of parents who has a 1.5-year-old at home knows that they need to run and play and see other kids and so on. So which has been kind of hard because there has been restrictions due to COVID-19 in Sweden. So as a parent, yeah, since COVID-19 um, yeah, came into play here in Sweden, restrictions has been yeah, it's been quite restricted what you can do with kids and so on. Yeah, good for them to meet other kids and play with them, so on. So I think it's perfect.
Albert actually came to life during the start of pandemic, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which was in itself yeah, pretty special. Um, but yeah, it was crazy how everything happened so quick. And but yeah, now uh, now I think here in Sweden at least, I think it's going a little bit back to more to the normal side. I think a lot of people are vaccinated and yeah, slowly going back to work. So before we had Albert, I had worked from home for almost a year, I think, due
Oh,
to
so you were used to
COVID-19.
it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I think a lot of people has created their own setup at home now with computers and screens and everything. Yeah. So
How was this interesting new beginning?
with working from home or with getting a
Uh,
child. Uh,
getting a second child. I
yeah,
know. I now know
I mean,
it's not so easy.
yeah, getting a second child is like the first one was pretty hard to get to sleep. So with the second one, we thought, oh, this is going to be all over again. But um, it's like when you the second, or at least for us, the second kid was like hitching a trailer onto your car. It's like he's just tagging along. Like if you turn the trailer, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, almost like that. But yeah, at least in the beginning. Now it's like have to run, chase him everywhere. And, yeah. So I think the problematic part is starting now. I think it was easy in the beginning, but yeah, I think
But at least now
yeah.
they can play together, no?
Yeah, now we're seeing some of the benefits, like them growing up together, playing together, and so it's possible to make dinner without constantly carrying one and playing with the other at the same time. So they can play a little bit together, I would
Hmm.
say.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
I have the switched experience. My first
Okay.
daughter was really calm, like
Yeah.
perfect, like an
Yeah.
angel. I thought,
Yeah.
oh, are really all kids this easy?
Yeah.
And after a couple of months, I had this idea: it cannot be this easy. We're
Yeah.
gonna get ourselves kicked kicked in butts or something like that. And with the second one, and I was right.
Yeah.
The second one is, yeah, it's hard with a lot less
Yeah.
sleep and a lot of crying.
Yeah, and you also only have like sometimes you need to clone yourself. Like I want to be two persons at the same time, so I can get get the old one and then get the younger one. But yeah,
At least two persons, because
yeah,
we need to be fed also,
yeah,
clean the dishes and
exactly.
everything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, house duties.
Yeah.
That's a big thing when you're at home with two kids, like cleaning up. Uh, yeah, picking up toys from the floor. Uh, yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
so how were these past 7 months for you?
I think it's been pretty good. Uh, he went by pretty quick. Uh,
Hmm.
I think for every parent out there who's been on parental leave in the autumn and winter, I think if you could plan it, the spring is perfect to be at home. You don't have to get your kids into overalls and winter shoes and everything, and hats and whatnot. It's just t-shirt, shorts, go out and play, and I think yeah, the weather's been pretty good. So I think yeah, it's been really nice, and I think the first thing that I thought with the first child was how big a difference it was from going to work, like a social thing, when you're used to talking to many people during the day and having um, I mean, when you work, a lot of your time and social interactions is at work. But when you're not there anymore, and after a couple of months, your clients stop calling and emails stop coming, and then, oh, this is a bit lonely. So I think
Hmm.
that was the learning curve was pretty steep the first time. Like, oh, uh, so I think that was probably a bigger change. So, but then in Sweden, there's like an open kindergarten where you can, when you're on parental leave or like parent groups that you can join into. And where we live, like 10 minutes from us, there's um, uh, yeah, an open kindergarten where you could bring your kid, and yeah, parents are there. You can have a cup of coffee with other parents, discuss different things, and getting your social experience from there instead of from work. So when we found that out, or when I found that out, that was like this, the one thing that saved the first parental leave, I think, because it's a big change. Or what do you think? Have you stayed at home with?
With my first child, I was home with her the first 3.5 months. So we
Yeah,
were together.
yeah,
We were just the three of us,
yeah,
and it was the best time of my life. We were
yeah,
just in a love bubble, and
yeah,
everything
exactly.
seemed so
Yeah,
nice. As I told you, my first daughter was so calm, and
yeah,
it was so easy with her,
yeah,
and it was great. And also, I noticed mm, after about a year or so, my wife really got, I don't know, I can't call it depression, but she got really sad because
yeah,
uh, after those 3.5 months, I went
mhm,
to work,
yeah,
and yeah, she stayed alone with the
yeah,
kid and felt really lonely because
yeah,
you're all the day you're
yeah,
just okay, you're not alone, but still you
yeah,
cannot converse
yeah,
with the small
exactly.
child.
Yeah,
And yeah, it starts, I don't know, at about 2 years you
yeah,
get some kind of conversations.
yeah,
And we don't have these kinds of I don't know, let's say kindergartens, where
yeah,
you could socialize. We have, yeah,
yeah,
a couple of playgrounds,
yeah,
uh, and and still I don't know how are Swedes, but Latvians, we're very distant from people. We don't know
yeah,
how to I don't know, get to know each other in a playground. So
yeah,
we take our kids to play, watch them over, and that's it. So this social thing that you're talking about, I really understand it. I haven't felt it on
has it
my
hung
own,
up
but
or
I really get it.
got this? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, you're back again.
Uh,
Uh,
so yeah, I really
yeah,
really get that
yeah,
lonely feeling,
uh,
and
yeah. It's quite funny that it's similar as what I tried to explain, I think.
yeah,
Uh,
that's
was it not?
exactly that you were explaining,
Yeah,
um, and it doesn't
yeah,
matter if you're a woman or a man. You still want some kind of
yeah,
interactions, right, during the day.
yeah, exactly.
So this
Yeah,
was the hardest
absolutely.
thing during your parental leave.
Yeah,
Was this thing that you were talking about during the first one you mentioned?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because during the second one, you have a kid that's almost 4 is so it's almost like a mini person. You could talk to them, you could interact with them, and at the same time, there's not a lot of time to spare because the big one wants to go to playgrounds and he wants to do activities and so on. So the little one just has
Tag
to
along.
follow in what the big one wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The trailer. Yeah, so I think that's pushed activities a little bit more um, from last time. But also, I think because there were so much restrictions now, you couldn't see, or you could see, but at times you can meet people under like indoors more than like 4 or 6 people at a time. So a lot of these activities that were indoor because yeah, as in Latvia, as in Sweden, it's not that great weather sometimes a year. So that means that a lot of indoors activities has moved outside, which works sometimes when the weather is good, but not all the time. So. But I think second child was a little bit more easy on
So,
parental leave,
what has been,
at least.
let's say, the hardest thing during this second one? Excuse me, one question before. How long was the first
Yeah,
parental leave for you?
it
Oh,
was the same. I think I went out June, maybe a little bit longer, June to February, June to January.
about the same. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
about the same. Yeah, so 7 months.
So
So yeah,
during this second
yeah,
7 month period, what has been the hardest thing?
yeah. Hmm. I think the hardest thing. I think time just flies by when you're caring for 2 small kids. It's like 6 meals a day and playgrounds and. Uh, but I would say I think the open kindergarten thing was pretty great, and obviously, if you have 2 kids, you can also go there, even if the one kid is smaller and the bigger kid can play with kids that are bigger. So I think that was the thing that we missed the most. Uh, Otherwise, I don't think it hasn't been that tough. Maybe, yeah, it's like you're not that picky when with the second one. If if he doesn't fall asleep, then maybe he's not that tired, and he fall. Sometimes he sleeps in the car, sometimes he sleeps on the bike, or yeah, sometimes at dinner, or yeah. So yeah, uh, I think it's gone a lot easier this time. Actually, you're used to. You're a little bit
Hmm.
prepared for what
I'm
comes
saying
ahead.
now.
So yeah, I
I'm
think a
saying
lot
that
easier
now
this
that
time.
with the second child, it's about 3 times physically tougher, but about 5 times emotionally
Yeah,
easier.
yeah, I think yeah, I would say that's correct. I mean, then you're used to like cooking dinner with one kid on your arm and like stirring in the pots, and the other kid is like, yeah, um, yeah, playing with the pots and pulling everything out, and everything's a mess. Like you're used to that, so. But yeah, but first time when you're when you need to cook dinner and you have a kid like constantly crying and stirring the pots, and yeah, come on. But yeah, it's a challenge to say the least. But yeah, also fun. I mean, these this is time that you don't get back. I mean, when your kids are small, and I think everyone should take the time to like be with their kids. I mean, who has the has the option of staying home, I think.
Have you ever thought about how would your relationships would look like with them if you wouldn't have this parental leave, these 7 months with them?
Yeah, I think they always grow a bit closer to the person who's at home. Um, or yeah, you do everything with them and you're familiar with their routines and familiar with how they want certain things, how they want to eat, which forks or which whatever it is. So I think you grow a little bit closer to your kids when you're at home with them. Um, yeah, I think so. And I also think it's good for when you share it because you always get some things from your mother and some things from your father. And uh, yeah, I think that's healthy for the kids as well. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think? What have you?
Um, as you said, you cannot get this time back. It's invaluable. You cannot
Yeah,
measure it with money.
yeah,
And this connection that you get,
exactly.
the faster you get it, the better.
Yeah,
And yeah,
yeah,
as you said, you just get to know these kids.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
maybe you could tell me what are you, I don't know, let's say grateful for spending time with your children.
I mean, just having the option to, or um, the privilege. I mean, it's a privilege, I would say, to be able to spend time with your kids and getting it paid by, um, yeah, the tax you pay or the government pays it. So I think in in Sweden, yeah, of course you're looking into other countries as well, but I think it's a huge privilege if you look at other countries and how it's set up in other countries. So and if you have the chance, I think take it. Uh, just being able to spend time with them. Uh,
Have
it's
you
great.
also, I don't
So
know, noticed some first times during this parental leave, something that your kids done the first time, and your
um,
and the mother wasn't there to visit, to witness it?
yeah, like yeah, yeah. I used to joke with my wife. It's like, why haven't you taught them anything uh, when I take over? Like they learn to walk, they learn to eat with knife and fork. They, uh, yeah, everything. Like the big one learned to how to ride the bike, and my wife's like, I did the worst part. It's like first part. It's like they couldn't eat properly. I mean, yeah. But yeah, so I think that that's the big difference between when they're like small toddlers or babies when compared. Like they learn catch on pretty
Mm.
quick, I think. So yeah, uh, you get to see a lot of firsts, I would say. I mean, at the same time as I'm preaching to, yeah, be home, stay at home, it's great. It's great, but it's not great all of the time. It's like sometimes it's yeah. Um, sometimes you just want to, oh, just give me 5 minutes of uh, silence or 5 minutes of calm. But yeah, in the end, I think it's worth
Uh,
it. So
we're
uh,
talking now that it's in Latvia it's called like parental vacation, something like that. And I'm saying that,
yeah,
oh, it's totally not a vacation. It's a
not a
duty. It's like an
vacation.
army.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes it's a hassle. The old one, yeah, wants to go out with or doesn't want to go out, and yeah, uh, sometimes they don't eat or they get hangry, and yeah, so on. But yeah, it's an adventure,
Mhm.
to say the least. So, but yeah, it's been a good 7 months, but also ready to get back to work, I think.
Yeah, we've seen also these
But yeah,
commercial campaigns about being a mother is the hardest
yeah,
job out there, and I can
yeah,
confirm because while staying
yeah,
at home, I had some days I had to
yeah,
go do some things, do some work,
um,
and
yeah.
it felt like a vacation to go to work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I've been thinking a little bit about. Would it be nice if you could, in Sweden, it is a possibility that you can take, let's say that the father has 3 days in a week and the mother has two, so that you get to share it a little bit and you still um, get to talk to the people at work and be involved in a little bit of other things. I think that's a good way if you
Hmm.
can get it to
Yeah,
work, like
that sounds amazing. Yeah, of
work
course,
and so
if you
on.
can get it to work with
Yeah,
your workplace.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Uh, but yeah, that's something that I've been thinking a little bit about. If if the opportunity is there, I think that's a good way because yeah, then you get to share a little bit of both. I mean, when they're a little bit smaller, and I mean, there's obviously a time. I don't know about breastfeeding, but it's isn't it like some months that is like beneficial for the child to breastfeed, and therefore the male, it's probably harder for the male to stay at home. But yeah, otherwise, if you exempt that, I think it's good to be able to share the time a
Mhm.
little bit.
Nicholas, it also sounds like you take full care of your household while you're at home. Uh, were you this type of guy before your parental leave?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I
Oh,
love
excellent.
cooking food. That's yeah, food and wine. That's the biggest interest, and probably golf. But yeah, so but I have to say that the menus have started to change a little bit. From now it's more kid friendly, like sausages and mashed potatoes, or yeah, whatever. But yeah, I think I've always, and I mean, if you're at home 100% with your kids, like no one wants to live in a mess. So pick it up, clean, do dishes, yeah, cook. So yeah,
I'm just mentioning this because
yeah,
I guess a lot of guys, a lot of men learn a lot of new stuff
yeah,
while they're being at home with kids. They have to learn it.
yeah, yeah. Probably with classical gender. What is it called? Classical gender,
Split.
like
Yeah.
female doing. Yeah, exactly. Often, like the wife is doing the meals, and but I think that started to change as well. At least in Sweden, I don't know, but I think it's amongst my friends, at least. I would say that this is 50-50 split, like cooking meals and cleaning up
Oh,
and
that's great
so
to
on.
hear. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
I would say. Yeah, yeah. I would say, yeah.
So, what are your top three things to do with your kids?
Hmm. I mean, the oldest one has started to play a little bit of
Wow,
golf,
nice.
so that's yeah, yeah. So that's really good. So in the weekends when my wife's home, we'll go out to the course, hit some balls on the range, and yeah, he loves to be there, having a cinnamon roll in the cafe, and I can have a coffee, and yeah. So that's probably the number one thing. Number two is probably cooking with the kids. They love like before before this meeting, we were making like churros with the kids. Like the 1.5-year-old stood on a chair in the kitchen, like could barely reach up at the counter, and yeah, stirring things together. And the older one is a bit more helpful in reality. So yeah, cooking with the kids, I think that's second, and because often they're really we're shouting downstairs, "Daddy!" But I think cooking with the kids because they're interested and they want to learn and what's in the meatballs, Daddy, or what's okay. You can tag along and we'll make it together. And that's also a lot easier to if they're interested and when you cook meal or whatever you do, if you can get them interested and they can be a part of cooking and the experience and so on. So that's probably second. And third, I would say, I don't know, just being outdoors. I think COVID-19 has pushed a lot of indoors people to the outdoors. So we're out picking berries like raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, mushrooms we were picking in the fall. So yeah, chanterelles, everything. So yeah, that's probably the third. It's a bit eye-opening almost. COVID-19 pushing people outdoors. So yeah, that's probably something that will stay
that's
for
great.
us as well. So yeah,
That's good to hear. Yeah, that some
so
people
that's
have
probably the
developed
three
new
things.
healthy habits.
Yeah, I think so. Like embrace the outdoors kind of thing, because at least in Sweden there weren't any uh, restrictions on outdoors things. So meeting your friends in the forest or yeah, whatever, hot cocoa and yeah. So we've been doing that a lot. So that's been nice. Also, tip for everybody who like go to the forest with your kids. They don't need an iPad, or they just need branches and stuff, leaves. I don't know, climbing everywhere,
Yeah.
and yeah.
And you can also teach them about the
So
nature
that's good.
during that walk.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and they're really, I mean, the eldest one, he's 4, so they're curious. So asking millions of questions. Riding in the car with them for more than 30 minutes is ears are bleeding from all the
Yeah, it can
questions.
be
So,
exhausting.
but yeah, get out in the nature, I would say.
Yeah,
Top
excellent. Pro dad tip.
Yeah.
Okay, Nicklas, I
Yeah,
know you're a
exactly.
busy man, and I have 3
Yeah.
questions I ask all my podcast guests. So, what's your
All
favorite
right.
last book that you've read?
Ooh. Is it? It doesn't
No,
have
no,
to
no,
be
no.
a
Of
dad
course
book,
not.
right? I don't think I've read a dad book. The latest book I've read is Arabia by the Arabs from Professor Robert G. Hoyland, I think. Yeah. If I exempt everything from work, that's the latest book I read.
And
Yeah. Good
okay,
book
I'll
for
look it up.
everybody.
Do you believe in
Yeah.
aliens?
No.
Okay, good. And the third one is
Yeah.
one thing that your dad taught you.
Ooh, driving a car, I would say. Yeah, that's probably, yeah. He's a motor enthusiast, so we've been having everything with motors since we were kids. Motocross, yeah, driving different things. Yeah, so I would say That and yeah, like what do you say when you work at a garage? Like fiddling with
Working at a
things.
garage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like pretty nerdy. Like
I don't know.
yeah.
It sounds pretty manly, I'd
So
say.
that's yeah, a bit. That's not what my wife thinks when the espresso machine breaks and it's in 5,000 pieces on kitchen floor. I disassemble it.
But did you fix
But
it?
yeah, yeah,
Okay, but
second
still.
attempt. So I disassembled it, assembled it, didn't work, disassembled it again, and then assembled it, and then it worked. So,
Okay, cool.
yeah, everything's fixable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's also a good dad tip. Everything's fixable.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And Gatis, also thank you for bringing me on.
Really, thank you for your time. Maybe you have a question for me.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think from your parental leave, or how would you have used your parental leave if there weren't any restrictions to it, or
I would use it as much as I could. Yeah, now I know that it's possible. With the first child, I didn't know that it's actually a thing. I didn't have the information. Now that I know,
yeah,
and I would use it as much as possible. Yeah. I see that you have to go. So thank you very much for your time. It was excellent talking to you.
No worries. Yeah. Yeah, and thanks a lot for having me on. I'm curious of going forward with this, hearing more from other people from other parts of the world.
Okay, Nicklas. Thank you very much. Take care.
Okay, guys. Thank you.